Hello. We're live today. Once again. How is everybody today? Welcome back to Shea Bradley. It's Friday, and I hope you've had a fantastic week, because I know I have. I've really enjoyed putting some of this together, and we're a little bit late today. My wife and I had a late breakfast. We're going to be doing some Christmas shopping, as I'm sure all of you are doing. And today's episode is about creativity, why it drives us, what it does, how you can use it in the corporate world. And a lot of people think, well, only artists do creative stuff. Well, that's not true. I'm going to teach you how scientists are doing creative work, how salespeople are doing creative work. Everybody's doing something creative, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that. So I'm at my live video. If you're here, let me actually shut off this light so we get a little better. Maybe it'll get a little brighter. Maybe it looks a little darker here. Hi, everybody. Give me likes if you're coming in. And we're going to get started in just a minute or two. Let me adjust the camera here and put it up just a hair. There we go. And that should work. I've been getting very creative, actually, on how we do some of this. I've used everything from an iPhone to my regular computer to an iPad, which is what you're on right now, and I've adjusted it with brand new lenses and things like that. I have a 27mm lens on there, and we're going to be having some fun. Melanie, how you doing? Good to see you. Welcome aboard once again. We're going to have some fun today. I posted something earlier that I thought was really cool, which was somebody took some Louis Vuitton bags that were old and wanted to recycle them, and they basically rebuilt them as sculptures, Star Wars sculptures. So if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to love this. I put it up there. I'm always astounded. I'm a Star Trek and a Star Wars fan. I know that sounds weird, but I like both. I also like Doctor Who. That's a big shout out to Claire. I actually have a couple of Doctor Who mugs in my kitchen cupboard that I use on a regular basis. They're pretty beat up. They make the TARDIS disappear when you put hot liquids in, and then it reappears as you drink. So it's kind of cool. Anyways, let's get started today. And I really want to thank everybody for sticking in here. There has been a crew of 5 of you who have been here every day. I want to thank all of you. Got a chance to talk to some of you privately outside. You've reached out to me and you've talked about your own businesses. I want to thank you for that. I feel I feel incredibly honored when people are interested in the work that I do, the businesses that I've built, or they need help. And that's something, when you can work with entrepreneurs all over the world and help them in any way, shape that we can. Another Doctor Who fan, yeah. I should have brought my mug on today. Anyways, let's talk about creativity. That's what we're going to talk about today. And you're probably thinking of it, well, how can we talk about it in a business context? I have spent my entire career being creative, and I get paid for that creativity, top dollar for that, because people realize when you pay a little extra for that oomph on a product, guess what happens? It sells better. And I can tell you, I designed book covers, I've done websites, I've done product launches for some of the top pharmaceutical companies in the world. I've done a lot of amazing creative stuff. All my businesses actually have been design firms or advertising agencies. So through the years, I don't know if you know this, but I've done book covers for some of the authors who have reached out to me and said, hey, could you do my book cover, man? And I said, okay, this time. And this is like a book I just designed. This is Dr. Steve Taubman's Buddha in the Trenches, and that's copper ink. I did the inside and the outside. I design stuff so that you want to touch it, you want to pick it up, you go, oh my goodness, I gotta have this book in my hand. And so that's how I've been doing things. Here's a book I did for a photographer. This is Jason Gardner. He goes to Brazil every year. He goes to Carnival. And you see the beauty inside this book. This actually became a gift kind of piece for the Brazilian embassy here in the United States. We had so much fun putting this together. But this is the kind of work that makes you want to touch things. And I want you to take a minute and think back about the things you've bought over the last 20 years. Think about the things you have bought over the last 20 years. And I don't care who you are, a lot of times you will spend more money to buy the very best product, the well-designed product. Some of you may have gone into a car dealership and you wanted to buy a particular brand of car because of the price. But when you saw the other car, you went, oh, it got you excited. It tapped into your emotions and you had to have it. So we buy things on emotions. We don't buy things based on logic. I forget who said it. We buy things on emotions and we justify it with logic. You know, that's how it was. And think about, if you're a baby boomer, there was a huge shift that took place from the traditionalists like my father to the baby boomer to the Gen Xer to the millennial. And here's what happened. I remember as a kid when my father bought his first brand new car off the lot. Before that, he always bought used cars. But when he bought his first brand new car, he bought, I think it was a 1973 AMC, which is American Motors Company. Brougham was the name of the brand of the car they made. And it was a station wagon, and it had a big engine in it. My dad had to have this car. And when he pulled up to his buddies in this car, they were like, wow, Mike, that's a beautiful car. And it was powerful. It could outrace most race cars in my town that would run down the drag strip. Well, my dad would brag to his friends how much money he got the dealership to shave off to buy that car. He bragged that he could get that price down low. Hear that? And he got a beautiful car, bought exactly what he wanted, got it for the price he wanted. But something shifted right around the 80s. And this happened all over the world. We had something called yuppies. Yuppies now were making more money. They didn't know that they weren't really making more money. Inflation made the dollar go down, so you needed more money in order to have the same lifestyle you had in 1971 with a yearly salary of $35,000. Now people were starting to make $80, $90, $120,000 a year. That was unheard of at the time. And we called them yuppies. They were called young, upwardly mobile professionals. Yuppies. They were actually baby boomers. the hippies, there was a very small percentage of the population that were actually hippies back in the 60s. Those hippies became yuppies by the late 70s, early 80s. And guess what? They started demanding coffee from Madagascar, rugs from Kathmandu. They wanted things flown in. They wanted to buy BMWs, foreign cars, not American cars. They wanted to spend top dollar. And when a yuppie bought a car, they didn't sit there and say, oh, I got the price down to this price. No, they bragged that they got their car for $80,000 and they could afford it. They didn't even bother to negotiate. That was the big shift, and it changed all our buying patterns in the United States. My wife and I just went down to, we're in a brand new neighborhood. We were looking for a place to take our dry cleaning, and we went down there today, and my wife put in the usual stuff that she puts in. It was $125. My wife looked at the woman and go, are you nuts? Each dress was $13 a piece to dry clean them. We know a place that we've been using for years in our old neighborhood was $7.95 per dress. It's not that we couldn't afford it, it's that why would we want to pay that much to have something cleaned? It just made no sense. And since she had 3 dresses there, I thought it was an outrageous price. I'm not willing to pay that, even if I can afford it. And guess what? That makes me the weirdo on the block nowadays, because most people, they're not fighting over price. They're fighting over experience. So that means your experiences that you create, whether it's in a company are you doing a sales pitch, or when you show up to actually talk about what you do for a living, you've got to bring your A game. And what's going to bring that A game? Creativity. That's the magic word, creativity. I see some of you are coming in and you're asking questions. Let's see what I have. Yes, Claire, you bought your car because you fell in love with it. Yeah, and it makes you prudent. Yeah, that's how we were. Not anymore. That's over. It's over. Being prudent, frugal, that's over. I mean, think about it. Right in here, excuse me, right in here, what was something that you bought where you just said, damn the price, I gotta have it. And maybe that was a Christmas tree recently, or maybe that was the apartment that you fell in love with. You bought a piece of real estate because you fell in love with it. Just write in, say what you want. Hi Sylvia, how you doing? Welcome to the group here. Good to see you on board. I'm glad to have you here. Melanie, Claire is visiting us as well. It's your evening. Are you having dinner while you watch this? I'm curious, Claire. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. Melanie, as always. One of the things that's incredibly powerful in this day and age is to set yourself apart, and that's by developing creativity. Now, let's talk about it inside a corporation. Here's my question. How many of you have worked at a company where they micromanaged you? Micromanaged you to death. Like every email there were a dozen more that went out. Everybody had to be CC'd on everything or be CC'd. We have to know what's going on. A lot of law firms work that way because they have to work that way. But what have they done to make sure they get the most out of their employees? Do people come and go all the time? Do they not really care about the product? Do they just show up and do their job and after 2-3 years they leave? Well, the companies that have the highest anxiety level inside them, when the anxiety is high, creativity is low. That means each employee is just expected to obey the rules, do their job, shut the hell up. Boom. Anxiety high, anxiety, creativity low. But in the companies where they really have pushed that creativity is the number one way to work, guess what? The anxiety is lower and the creativity is higher. Now, there is a point where it gets too loosey-goosey, where, hey, we're just here to have fun. But if you let people know our product is the most important thing that has to get out there so that we can create multi-million-dollar, multi-billion-dollar business sectors, then they're going to push that creativity paradigm. And I know I keep bringing up this company, but it's W.L. Gore, and also DuPont does this. They want you to just play. They're what's called think tanks. They want you to play. They want you to have fun. They want you to do whatever. And Gore-Tex, one of their top products, they developed it by accident. And they said, well, what can we use this Gore-Tex fabric for? Well, they started to play around with it. And they found that it makes one heck of a shell for when you are going up into the Arctic. So they started making clothing from something that was probably like thin strands of cable. Well, that accident turned into a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's the same with Kevlar. They were creating these strands that were unbreakable, and they started to realize that this was a high-impact plastic. If they weaved it very tightly, they make bulletproof vests from Kevlar now. Another billion-dollar industry from one product. It's that creative flair that you let people play and create a playground within your office. And there's another thing that they're doing now. You may not know this, but they're practicing playing around with how to weave these fabrics, these high-impact fabrics such as Kevlar and Gore-Tex and things like this. They're actually thinking about making aircraft out of these products. Instead of metal, you weave the shell into a shape, and when that plane crash lands, it bounces. Instead of shatters and blows up, it bounces and it squeezes and stretches. They just have to figure out a way to seal everything nice and tight. So this is just one example of creating a creative work environment. in these companies. Now, how do you do that for yourself? I know I'm all over the map today, but how do you do that for yourself? Anybody can have a creative idea. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you how we used to do it at my companies. I don't know if you remember the Garry Kasparov chess challenge. Maybe some of you do. That's when Garry Kasparov, the leading world's chess master, faced off with IBM's computer, the Deep Blue chess challenge. And so, let me look something up for you. There's something else I want to talk about. Burqini. The chess challenge, we were hired by Ogilvy to basically build that live event online. So what we did is we got our whole staff together in one room on a Friday with pizza and a little bit of beer, and we had some fun. And what we did is, from lunchtime on to the end of the day, we put up a giant whiteboard, we had several flip charts, and we had designers, programmers, even some of the secretaries in the company. Anybody was invited to come in and throw these ideas on the wall. And all the creative directors, Doug Cleek, myself, and some other people were involved to decide which ones were probably those pie-in-the-sky ideas and some of the ideas that might not stick, might not have legs, or we couldn't even create at that time. So we just had this incredible Friday afternoon brainstorm session, we used to call them. They're brainstorms. Today they're called ideation sessions, or maybe in your company they're called whiteboarding, things like that. But what happens is, we decide to throw ideas out, just as many creative ideas as possible. And whatever sticks, we start to build the website based on that. And that became the pitch idea, the product idea, and the things that we were going to do to create this chess challenge. And here's what came out of that. Remember, at that time, the fastest modems that were coming out were 36K, I believe, and the 56K modem was actually delivered, I think, 3 months before that. People were not on T1 lines except at work. So at home, it was slow. We told IBM, you're going to have 5 mirrored servers if you're going to pull this off. They didn't believe us. They thought this was never going to be a big deal. Nobody's going to go online. Well, on that Friday, guess what? After 5 million hits, their server was crashed. Over the weekend, we had to build 5 mirrored sites in off-site locations. And here's the funny part. They were so unprepared for this, we couldn't even use IBM servers. They didn't have servers for this. We had to use Sun Microsystems servers to be able to do mirrored sites. They just weren't prepared for this. And part of the reason they weren't prepared is they didn't realize that this chess challenge was being covered in the New York Times every single day. Now, what culture on earth is chess almost like baseball is here in the United States? Who puts chess at the very top of what they do? Russia. So we decided the best way to cover this chess challenge and to be able to know what the Baltic move was or whatever move that was going to happen, we decided to hire nothing but Russian programmers. And we had another Russian who was also Russian American. He spoke both English and Russian fluently, and he oversaw that team. And so we were able to stay abreast, on top of everything, by having the Russian programmers there live. Then we hired a court stenographer to do a blow-by-blow detail, and we created these sort of streaming-looking banners at the bottom that would give you a blow-by-blow detail of what was happening. Guess what? There was no live streaming at that time. We had to fake it. So we got creative on how we were going to cover this, who was going to help us cover it, and we would always have graphic designers and a couple of programmers right there live in Philadelphia to cover this while the chess challenge was taking place. Now I'm back home in New York City at our home office, and over the weekend I had to go into the office and build all the graphics for the mirrored websites and send them down and duplicate all this stuff and do the touch-up and do all this. So let me tell you, creativity isn't just building websites. It's in the programming. It's in the coming up with the ideas and how will you do this live event, how you do all this. But none of this could have happened if I didn't create an environment where it was okay for my employees to say exactly what is on their mind, tell the truth about what we're doing, and also, there are no dumb ideas. All ideas have merit. Are you working in an environment like that right now where your ideas are being treated with respect? Maybe they don't use all your ideas, but they at least treat what you do with utmost respect. Are you looking at the next generation of workers and saying, wow, he's creative in that area, I'd like to move him into my department? And are you looking at people with what they bring to the table? What skill set are they bringing to you? That's the beginning of creating a work environment where creativity and innovation are job one. So I hope that helps a little bit. Let's see what other questions we have in here today. Give me some high fives. I want to see if everybody's in here having fun. If you have more questions, maybe I can answer them. I don't know. But I think creativity is the cornerstone of why we do everything in this environment today. Let's see. Don't laugh. All seasons of Sunset Beach. That's funny. This is funny. You're self-employed, Melanie. Awesome. Makes you prudent. Yes. Sylvia, what do you do for a living, if I may ask? Just put that out. I'm looking for my water. I have no water. I like Star Wars and Star Trek, but I think Star Wars is incredibly creative because they have to not only come up with these crazy characters, they have to come up with how they interact, what's the backstory, why Kylo Ren is the way he is, and they have strong women characters in Star Wars. And I'm not saying they don't have strong men characters, they seem to have an equal balance. So that's incredibly important too. I wasn't going to talk about this, but it always drives me crazy when I see a panel on diversity, our women's issues, our generational issues, and there's 5 white guys sitting up there. Drives me crazy. And it's not that I'm obsessed with this. I mean, my wife is from Haiti, so I'm in an interracial relationship, so I notice those things faster. So you get a guy up there talking about women's issues. It kind of makes you go, okay, when are we going to have people talking about the things that are near and dear to them by utilizing and looking for keynote speakers that represent that sector and getting the real answer to this? So that's part of that truth-telling environment I was talking about. I want everybody to look this up. This is one of my favorite creativity stories, and that's the Burqini. I don't know if you know this, but there was a Muslim woman who was living in Australia. Her and her husband moved to Australia, and you may not know this about Australia, although some of you are Australian on the line today. Crikey. What happens is she would go to the beach, and if you know Muslim culture, they have to wear a burqa. They can't cover up properly. Well, a burqa is dangerous if you go in the water because you can sink and die if you're trying to swim. So this woman, Aheda Zanetti, she decided to combine the cover-up of a burqa and the stylishness of a full-body swimsuit from the 1800s, and she put together something called the Burqini. And the Burqini allows Muslim women to go to the beach with their children and their families and not violate, I guess it's Sharia law or one of those laws where they have to cover up in public. So the Burqini has become not only a solution that is finally needed here in the 21st century, but it has caused an amazing amount of controversy. But what it is somebody who was highly creative, who came from an Eastern culture, Middle Eastern culture, and came to Western culture and had to figure out a solution. That's what I'm looking at, the creative part of this. Are you in a struggle right now, maybe to try and get people in your downline? Maybe you're trying to get employees to work harder. Maybe you're trying to figure out whatever. Start with creativity. If you can create motivation and incentives that are creative and get deep into the heart of people and they go, oh man, I can't wait to win that, or I can't wait to achieve that, boom, boom, boom. You're using creativity outside of the realm of just being a designer and getting it done. You are creating real, tangible, exciting events for people that work for you. And this can be, it can backfire. Trying to be creative can backfire. I'm going to be honest with you. I've been in situations where maybe that's the wrong call. I haven't done it personally, but you know, when you push the envelope, sometimes you can really take it to another level. When I do a keynote, I come out on stage to music and I get people going, and then I pull out the toys and I'm going, hey, you know, that is what I do. Be creative, be original, and do what you do. And whatever you do, it should be two things and two things only. It should be, ready? You can write this down, counterintuitive or innovative. Counterintuitive or innovative. Because people have seen the same thing over and over and over again. They want something new. And by the way, millennials especially want to see something new. If they believe that this is a boomer thing, they're not going to buy it. They're not going to get involved with it. They're not going to want to do it because it's going to seem, you guys don't get it. And if they do take over your boomer business, they're going to reinvent it so it's millennialized. Did I say that right? Millennialized? Or even Gen X. Gen X has a way of wanting to do business too. And this is where your new customer is. So you've got to listen to the younger employees that are working for you, your younger salespeople or your younger staff members. You must listen to them, and here's why. They understand the customer better than you do. If you don't have a millennial or a Gen Xer on your sales or your marketing team, you are making a huge mistake. Because, and I've seen this firsthand, boomers with a lot of gray hair and a beard walk in to sell or pitch an idea, and the people who are buying are looking at them like, I don't see any people my age on your staff. They don't want to see grandpa coming in to do a sales pitch. And I don't mean to be ageist, but if you're the grandpa, the cool grandpa who also brings your nephew with you, you're going to close that sale a lot faster. I'm a boomer. I can't apologize for that. That's who I am. But I'm a cusp boomer. I'm considered cool. And a lot of times I don't know what it is, but I get millennials and they get me. And we have fun together. I let them pitch. You pitch the idea. I don't need to be in on this. I've done 100 pitches. This is you. I'll train you how I pitch new work and new business and things like that. But it's up to you to bring your savvy, your tech, reach that you want. And guess what? If you're a millennial in sales, you need this training. And I'll tell you what. A young millennial called me one day. I've known him for years. Chris was a software developer. And he kept trying to pitch this one baby boomer on his software. And his software was great. It was for an enterprise, I believe, for this guy's business. It's an enterprise software platform. The guy kept fighting him, resisting him, all this. He finally called me up. 2 years he tried to pitch this guy. Chris calls me up from Iowa. He goes, Brad, how do I close this business? I can't get this guy. He won't buy. He won't do anything. And I said, Chris, you're having a conversation with a boomer, right? He's looking at you like, what does this kid know? What does this kid know about my business? I said, you know you can save him $100,000 a year. You know you can make it fast. But having a discussion isn't going to faze him in the least. You can do all the disc training you want to be able to create fear in his heart, get him, oh my God, I can't believe it. I got to get this software. What you have to do is show him physically why he needs your software. Just like my keynotes used to bomb until I started doing this. Boomers were raised with this. Millennials were raised with this. Once I did that, we stopped having an argument about why they do things the way they do. And guess what? An hour later, he called me up. He had a $10,000 check in his hand. That's right. Chris closed the deal by showing the boomer why you needed this software. And businesses only want to see two things. How are you going to make me money, or how are you going to save me money? Get creative with your sales pitches. You have to get inside people's heads. They need to see. Stop with the discussion. It's an emotional purchase. get them to make the decision emotionally. They have to. They'll justify it with logic later. Trust me. Anyways, what are we saying here? Sorry, last minute shopping. Joy! Did you get me something? What'd you get me? Awesome. I have to go shopping today with my wife, so I understand. Yeah, you want to surround yourself, Melanie, with people who challenge your thinking and want you to think differently. And I think that's the fun part about this. Thank you, Solia. The amazing idea. Yes, that's what I'm trying to do. I've actually spent my entire career in the creative zone. That's really what I've done. So this is fun for me. I'm going to read some of your comments because I want to get in here and check out some of this. I want to answer some of your questions before I sign off. I'm quite a personality. I have to be careful. I don't surround myself with yes men. Yeah, you know, Melanie, that's a rough one. Surrounding yourself with people that agree with you is the worst thing you can do. You want a little bit of tension in your organization. My business took off from just me and a business partner to 60 employees because we fought over creativity. Imagine that. We fought over the product. We wanted the best product. But that was the one thing. We wouldn't let our arguments about what was the better road to go down. We just wanted to have the very best work out there. So we always were in love with what we were creating, even if we had a little tension between what direction to take for our clients. And that was the most fun. I enjoyed that part. I don't think a company that's living in this harmonious way of doing things is going to achieve some of the things that you want to get done. You always have to have a little bit of a push-pull and send people back to the drawing board. That's another thing. And then we choose from the 20 great ideas. I remember the first time I wrote our annual report. We're talking 20 years ago. My business partners actually told me I was a horrible writer. Now, nobody would have said that, but they did. They decided they were going to insult me and push the limit. So I kept writing, and I kept trying to get better, and I kept pushing myself. And if you know anything about my book, Liquid Leadership, this particular book right here has won 2 business book awards for my writing, which shocked the hell out of me. Trust me. I was very excited to know that I was able to do that. So the proof is in the pudding. And by the way, this thing called creativity, the more you practice it, the better you're going to get. Okay? So I'm going to be signing off. I want to thank everybody for coming in today. Joy, thank you. Enjoy your Christmas shopping or Hanukkah shopping. Some of you I know still have to get gifts for family. 8 days of getting gifts. But it's about family this time of year. So go have some fun. Sylvia, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm glad you're one of our newbies. We're going to be doing some more tomorrow and talking a little bit about wrapping up. And also I think, let me double check. I think we're going to be talking about corporate culture tomorrow. That should be fun. So anyways, let me open that up. I want to make sure I got us scheduled for tomorrow. One more. Oh, and I'm going to do, we're going to run around my neighborhood. I'm going to show you some of the lights around this neighborhood here. Tomorrow, I want to really talk a little bit about the corporate culture and also how to move people around in your organization according to the skill set that they have. That should be fun. And if there are any millennials on the line, I'd love for you to bring in your questions, because I know some of you have to manage people who are twice your age now, and they may not respect you. So let's talk about that. Have a great holiday. I know it's coming up. Some of you have not been able to be on some of these. You don't have to feel sorry. I'm just happy that you can watch them later on. So anyways, I'm going to sign off. Have a great holiday. Get ready for 2018. Don't forget to send your cards, your cards and letters to your business contacts right now. Do it now so that they know that you're thinking about them. And I guess that's it. Brad Szollose, peace out. Thanks, everybody. Take care.